So, this is a replay between myself on the left playing Takana. Spatula of Doom is my in-game name, as you can see, and I'm playing against an Alia player, a Defresh94. And at this time, my opponent's ELO is, according to Replay Viewer, which ELO is really messed up now anyways, but it says that he's 1309, so a respectable player. And right off the bat, I get to go second, which is always nice as Takana. I start with what I thought was a really good hand. On that turn right there, my second turn, I opted to go for max damage, so I played 2 creatures instead of just 1. And I think I don't regret that decision at all. I mean, otherwise I would have been playing an outmaneuver to get an extra 2 damage onto his hero, or maybe a champion, but I always like getting more creatures down as opposed to less. So, yeah, right off the bat, I kill his little wolf trainer. I'm dealing 4 damage to his hero this turn. And I can play a Shark Guard. I decided not to, though. I really didn't see any purpose of playing a Shark Guard. It wouldn't have been able to do anything. It would have just died eventually anyways. Assuming he leaves his light elemental thing here. And he decides to play a turn 4 Mass Rage, which brings him down to 10 health. And Mass Rage is bad because it like immediately negates any benefit I have from outmaneuver, and it also completely eliminates my Honor Binds Us, which is my big finishing card, one of the best cards I have to actually kill people with. But I do have a ton of damage on the board compared to his like no damage, and all of a sudden it means absolutely nothing because of that 5 cost to deal 5 damage to everything. As you can see, almost all of my creatures only have 5 health. Champion, of course, has 6, but it was in my hand. So to come back from that, I just want to play some campfires, get more creatures down if possible, and I sort of just gambled here and hoped that he didn't have 2 of those spells in his hand right off the bat, which it's a gamble that I should not have taken, but as we see, there's 1 in his hand there, but I didn't know that at the time. He ends up playing 1 Void Wraith, so I take some damage for the first time. He blocks some damage there, but he does get down to 7. Meanwhile, I have these 2 Honor guys in play. I'm still maxing the board, just hoping to get as much damage out as possible before another of these board wipes comes through. And I think on this turn he does wipe the board. Yep. So he plays another Wrath and then a Fountain of Youth. So luckily my champion with 6 health does stay on the board. I get him down to 5 health. But now anytime I play a card, it's going to be giving him health. And of course, here I am thinking, well, he's already played 2 Wraths, he can't have another board clear, so let's try to play some creatures. So I get 2 more guys out. It did put him back up to 9 health. And yet again, he has some more lesser light elementals. He has another Void Wraith. He opts for the Angel of Mercy this time to get his other lesser light elemental back, which will be completely shutting down at least one of my creatures. But with Mass Rage in play again, I have 1 dead card in my hand with Honor Binds Us. The outmaneuver is much less effective at this point, but I do outmaneuver. I think the whole purpose of this was just to move those out of the way, because as soon as they're moved to that open lane, then he can't move them back into block. But unfortunately for me, he does have a broken bridge, and while his 2 guys are going to be stuck there in that bottom lane, and I have a nice sort of advantage in health. As we see here, I'm taking 3 damage now, just from attacking the Void Wraith. Preemptive Strike kills my little wolf in the top row, my white fox. So I decide now, I guess I probably need to block that bottom row, just in case some shenanigans happen. And with the retaliation there, I end up killing the Angel of Mercy. Again, he plays another Angel of Mercy anyways, gets another lesser light elemental. And those elementals are just sort of very disruptive. I think if he firebolts my champion here, No, he didn't fire. If he firebolted my champion, he would have ended up saving that light elemental, but I guess he didn't care that much. He just wanted to draw the card, so I think that's a fine play too. But at this point, I'm still feeling pretty good about the game. I have these outmaneuvers that I'm using effectively. He did play that building, but I have all these creatures on the board. He only has 3 cards in hand. He doesn't have very much on the board. And yeah, he still only has 7 health. I'm not really at risk of dying at this point. But of course, then he draws another Arcath's Wrath, wiping the board. He plays another Fountain of Youth, and also an Architect's Wonder. So at least he was not able to respond in any way to the board. Now, I sort of made a mistake here by playing my Hidden Dojo, I think. I didn't really need to give him that extra 2 HP, and then I didn't even put my creatures next to each other. So I'm not even benefiting from that honor other than +1 for my Mizukami, which is not the worst thing in the world, but at this point I see that I've sort of made a mistake, because I'm attacking the Void Wraith, which is going to bring me down to 6 health. And meanwhile, he's now deployed 3 of these buildings, which is just hilarious. Yeah, I play the Unmai Kami in the top row. There's not really a purpose for doing that, other than it was just the only creature I had in my hand. I actually would have preferred any other creature at this point. But regardless, it's something that will probably scare him into trying to block it. Hailstorm, as you see, does affect the Mizukami. It does not count as magic damage, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he wastes 2 Firebolts just to kill off my Unmai Kami. He's going to have to block the second row with the Moon Phoenix. And really, at this point, my opponent is only losing because he doesn't have the right mix of creatures in his deck. Playing Mass Rage against a Takana, I got my Mizukamis out so late that he should have been able to capitalize a little bit better. I just think he may need to alter the creatures he has in his deck. And the 3/5/4, I'm not so sure if it's necessary to go all the way to the 4 Destiny. But either way, he deals 2 damage to all creatures again, which is just like ridiculous. Like, all my creatures are dying just from event cards now, which is something you would have never seen before base set 2. Pretty awesome. This is standard, by the way. Sorry, thanks, Zerg Rusher. So I play another Hidden Dojo, because why not? Play my Moon Phoenix, because that's all I have. And yeah, I mean, I have this nice loaded board, and I should be killing him any minute now, but like the fact that like, if there was another event that came up to deal 1 damage, losing a Mizukami, like 5 health, all of it dealt by events, would have just been absolutely insane. Meanwhile, this guy, 4 of those buildings on the battleground, not doing anything, and I finally win. And like, okay, so just talking about this deck, I'm gonna review his deck here, because this is a game that I should have lost. Which one was it? Where'd it go? Okay. So as you see, it was one of the longest games that I've played, at least since I've reformatted my hard drive. So I'm gonna look at his deck. Sure, here's my deck. You guys probably couldn't guess my deck. It doesn't change very often, but yeah, if you really care about my deck, it has 9 Fortunes and 39 creatures, 2 Hidden Dojos. You basically just play creatures and try to deal damage and win. I only have 2 Mizukamis. I threw in 1 Unmai Kami because, I don't know, I thought it might help against some dark magic decks, and occasionally it does, but it's, I don't know. It takes a long time to actually make use of that anyways. It's sort of a wasted card, I think. I'll probably remove that, but looking at this guy's deck, like, he's playing with 4 Hailstorms, 3 Knights of the Rising Moon, 1 Month of the Spider Queen. I'm not sure why he has Month of the Spider Queen when he's actually playing with 3 Fountains of Youth. So that's 1 card that doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe he just had to throw it in there. He should have thrown something else in there, but either way, Knight of the Rising Moon, that's definitely a great card for this build, being so even in all 3 categories here. I didn't actually see him make a lot of use of that event. That's something that should definitely be a focus when you have this deck. But yeah, here's his problem, was his creatures. Like, alright, his point is to have Void Raids, and then get Void Raids back with Angels of Mercy, and then he just blocks with Light Elementals and Wolf Trainers. And then he has the Moon Phoenix to banish out stuff, just to keep playing. It'll keep coming back to his hand, which is nice in theory. But the problem with that is if you have all these weak creatures, even if you get your Mass Rage in play, like he's playing with 3 Mass Rages, that's too many. 2 Mass Rage is a good number. If you play with 3, you're a lot more likely to get it out early like he did, but it's a card that just isn't helping you that much. Like, as soon as you play 1, then you have 2 dead Mass Rages in your deck, and that's just too many dead cards, I think. Definitely remove 1 Mass Rage, put in something else. But you see that Alia, with Light and Fire, there's almost no options for AoE. Like, there's Magma Burst here, which is basically a 2 damage geyser. He has 4 of those, and a 2 damage geyser is really not going to be doing that well. Aside from that, you have Arcath's Wrath, which is the only sort of AoE clear that he has. So I think the biggest problem with this deck is just that it's Alia trying to do it, which that's the only time you can actually recycle Void Rays with Angels of Mercy. But it's just not... You need some bigger blockers in here that can actually tank my creatures without dying, and then also deal some damage themselves, I think. I think that's the best way to make up for the lack of spells. I mean, otherwise, if I look at his fortunes here, he has Broken Bridge, which I don't really like that addition too much. I mean, I guess it's the only fortune removal you have, but I don't really think it's that helpful. I would maybe remove Broken Bridge and add creatures instead. Fountain of Youth is very questionable. I'm not sure that you need Fountain of Youth ever, but it's kind of a cool flavor card. If you do wipe the board, then you make your opponent sort of pay for playing creatures, but 2 health per creature is usually not a good trade. But, I mean, I guess it's not the worst card in the deck here. Architect's Wonder. Now, his whole Shrine of Elrath thing, whenever a non-unique Haven creature dies put at the top of the library, I really don't understand why he needs Architect's Wonder, Shrine of Elrath. It just didn't make sense to me. And plus he has 4 Imperial expansions, and that was the biggest confusing moment for me. If you're playing with 3 Shrine of Elraths, and you're playing Architect's Wonder to get them faster, I really don't think you benefit from 4 Imperial expansions. I don't think you benefit from any Imperial expansions, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, I think if you take like these creatures, these spells, and then scrap Imperial expansion, you can even scrap Architect's Wonder, maybe. I think you can make this deck work a lot better. But either way, this was a good starting hand for me, and he completely negated it with 1 Arcath's Wrath. So yeah, I think this is a really, really nice card. Damage can't be prevented or reduced. This is definitely like Fire's helping card right now. Definitely makes a build like this viable. But anyways, Tay, you make a good point. You can throw away Mass Rage with Night of the Rising Moon, but it's still a dead card to me, because if you use Night of the Rising Moon, there's a chance that you'll be drawing one of those, and then you'll have to wait for another event. It's still mostly dead to me.